Hello students, I am Dr. Amit Bhatnagar, working as Senior Research Officer in the Department of Agronomy at GB Pant, University of Agriculture and Technology, Pantnagar, Uttarakhand. Here in this lecture, I will tell you about the estimation of rice yield, how the rice yield is estimated in a field. So there is a formula, but you not need to remember such type of formula. Simply understand and think about the concept of the yield estimation. If we know the concept and basic understanding of yield estimation, then there is no need to remember any type of formula. The basic thing in the yield estimation is that first determine what is the yield of one plant. If we know the yield of one plant, then second step is calculate the number of plants in a unit area. Unit area may be 1 acre or 1 hectare. Suppose our unit area is 1 hectare, then calculate the number of plants in 1 hectare, then multiply the yield of one plant by number of plants in 1 hectare, then this is the yield in 1 hectare area. So this is very basic thing. If we know this basic concept, then we calculate or determine and estimate the yield. And the basic concept is that if we want to know the yield in hectare area, suppose per hectare area, what is the yield? So first estimate the yield of one plant, then multiply the number of plants in 1 hectare area. Number of plants in 1 hectare area. Here the yield estimation is for hectare, that's why we have to multiply the yield of one plant by the number of plants in 1 hectare area. Suppose it is 1 square meter area, then we have to calculate the number of plants in 1 square meter area. Similarly, if question is asked for 1 acre or any square meter, 100, 200, 300, then we have to determine how many plants are in particular square meter area. And now the yield of one plant, how it is calculated, how it is determined. So yield, our case is rice yield. Our interest is in rice yield estimation. So yield of one plant here is grain weight in one plant. कि एक पौधे में, एक प्लांट में कितना ग्रेन वेट है. फर्स्ट डिटरमाइन ग्रेन वेट इन वन प्लांट, एंड द ग्रेन वेट is fertile. We can say it is fertile spikelet. Actually there is a rachis and there is spikelet, and in spikelet there is a yield formation. So number of fertile spikelet is equal to number of grains. तो जो फर्टाइल स्पाइकलेट होती है उसी के अंदर ग्रेन फॉर्मेशन होता है. तो राइस के केस में फर्टाइल स्पाइकलेट होंगी तो उतना ही ग्रेन्स होंगे. तो फर्टाइल स्पाइकलेट का जो वेट है, मतलब जो ग्रेन वेट है, उससे हम कैलकुलेट करेंगे. तो जो ये वेट होगा दैट इज दी ग्रेन वेट. देयर में भी स्ट्राइल स्पाइकलेट या अनफिल्ड स्पाइकलेट, और वी कैन से इट इज फिल्ड स्पाइकलेट. So there may be different type of names. So fertile spikelet may be filled spikelet. So in question language may be different, but we have to understand the relationship between the spikelet and grain. In spikelet there is grain. Suppose there are 50 spikelet, fertile spikelet, it means there are 50 grain. So we have to determine this fertile spikelet weight. Okay. तो अब हमको ग्रेन वेट पता चल जाएगा, तब हम उसको कर सकते हैं. तो हमको फर्स्ट हमें क्या करना है, वी हैव टू डिटरमाइन व्हाट इज द ग्रेन वेट इन वन प्लांट. एंड द ग्रेन वेट इन वन प्लांट सिंपली नंबर ऑफ ग्रेन्स, कितने ग्रेन्स हैं, नंबर ऑफ ग्रेन्स. ओके, देन वेट ऑफ वन ग्रेन. दिस इज अ सिंपल बेसिक thinking, basic concept. If we want to know what is the grain weight, so first determine number of grains, then weight of one grain. So how the weight of one grain is determined? It is very difficult task to know कि एक ग्रेन का कितना वेट होगा. इसके लिए हम क्या करते हैं, 1000 ग्रेन का हम वेट लेते हैं उससे हमें पता चल जाएगा कि 1000 वेट का ग्रेन वेट इतना है तो एक का कितना होगा. सो दैट्स वाई इसको हम लिख सकते हैं, इसको वेट ऑफ वन ग्रेन इज डिटरमाइंड बाई 1000 ग्रेन वेट, 1000 grain weight, okay, and it is generally given in calculation, then divided it by 1000. Sometimes this 1000 grain weight is written as test weight, sometimes it is written as, actually test weight is entirely different from 100 grain weight or 1000 grain weight. Test weight is calculated on the basis of volumetric expression. So if there is a test weight, it is meant by 1000 grain weight or 100 grain weight, but this test weight is entirely different. It is this test weight is calculated on the volume basis. Okay, so simple formula: grain weight per plant. How much grain weight per plant? Count the number of grains. Okay, then determine the weight of one grain. How it is determined? First, take the 1000 grain weight, then it divide by 1000 to know one grain weight, then it is the grain weight per plant. So this is the first step. These are the basics. The number of plants in 1 hectare. How this number of plants in 1 hectare? So these number of plants in 1 hectare. Okay, so first number of plants in 1 square meter area, number of plants. First calculate number of plants in 1 square meter area, then multiply by it by 10,000, because there are 10,000 square meter in 1 hectare area. Okay, so number of plants in 1 square meter area, and number of plants in 1 square meter area, how these are calculated or determined? By planting geometry. What is planting geometry? Planting geometry by 20 by centimeter or 10 by centimeter. Suppose geometry is 20 centimeter by 10 centimeter for rice. So number of plants 1 square meter area. Okay, so first convert it into meter, 0.2 meter into 0.1 meter. So it is 0.02 square meter. Okay, so this is the geometry, 0.02 square meter. In 0.02 square meter, how many plants? 1 plant. So in 1 square meter area, 1 upon 0.02, that is 100 upon 2, that is 50 plants. So with the help of planting geometry, we can calculate how many plants are there in 1 square meter area. Okay. So for further detail, you may watch in playlist numericals on plant population, how plant population is calculated. So numericals are given. Please go through playlist. There is a numerical section entirely different, and there are numerical based on plant population requirement and plant population calculation. Then you can learn easily how plant population is calculated. यहाँ भी मैंने आपको calculate करके बता दिया है कि इतने plants, the planting geometry is 20 by 10 centimeter, then how it is calculated. Okay, then planting geometry, number of plants, it gives number of plants. Okay, it gives in number of plants in 1 square meter area. It is 1 square meter area. Then there are tillers. In case of rice, there are tillers. In one plant, maybe 5 tillers, 6 tillers, and then this set is known as hill. So hill is a plant where there is a transplanting and it has tillers. So there is a hill. Okay. So if plant has suppose 5 tillers, then in hill multiplied by number of tillers. Rice is tillering plant or tillering crop. Okay. It produces a tiller. So it planting geometry, we transplant 50 seedlings in 1 square meter area, and each seedling means each plant produce suppose 5 tillers, then it is the total population. It is tillering crop. Suppose it is non-tillering crop like maize or mustard, then number of plant will remain 50. Okay, so in tiller crops like rice, wheat, we have to multiply by number of tillers, and sometimes it are called as effective tillers. So don't be confused. Effective tillers are those tillers which bear ear और spike. जो plants में टिलर्स प्रोड्यूस होते हैं वो उन सभी में ईयर्स नहीं आती है, सभी में ग्रेन फॉर्मेशन नहीं होता है। जिसमें ग्रेन फॉर्मेशन होता है उसी को हम इफेक्टिव टिलर्स बोलते हैं। सो इफेक्टिव टिलर बियर ear or spike in which grains are produced, and in some tillers there is no spike formation, and these are known as non-productive tillers. So basic is that in yield estimation, first yield of one plant, then number of plants in one hectare area multiplied the both, that is the result. And how the yield of one plant is calculated? Grain weight of one plant. Grain weight how? Number of grains multiplied by 1000 grain weight and divided by 1000 to note the grain weight of one grain. Then plant population in 1 hectare area. First calculate the plant population in 1 square meter area, then multiplied by 10,000 for conversion into hectare, and 1 square meter area population is calculated with the planting geometry. So there are 50 plants. But in case of rice, there is tiller crop, so we have to multiply it by number of tillers. Suppose number of tillers are 6, then plant population would be 50 by 6, that is 300 plants. So 300 plants in 1 square meter area. Then we can calculate the plant population in 1 square meter area. Okay. So इसको हम कैलकुलेशन कर सकते हैं। इसको हम देख लें कि सपोज इसको एक डिफरेंट न्यूमेरिकल से हम कर सकते हैं फॉर न्यूमेरिकल। ओके, सो सपोज नंबर ऑफ ग्रेन्स, सपोज नंबर ऑफ grains are 60 in one plant, and 1000 grain weight is about 20. It is 1000 grain weight, so it is in gram. Okay, so divided by 1000 to know the weight of one grain. Okay, so 0 cancel हो जाएगा, that is 12, that is 1.2 gram. So yield is 1.2 gram. So yield of one is 1.2 gram. It is the yield of one plant. Okay, number of plants, this is a geometry, and number of tillers are suppose 6. Number of tillers are suppose 6, then it is 50 by 6, that is 300. Okay, so now number of plants in 1 square meter area 300. So 300 plant in 1 square meter area, so in 10,000 it is the number of tillers, okay, or effective tillers. Okay, then multiplied by this 1.2 gram, that is the yield of one plant. Okay, then it is in gram, here it is in gram, 1.2 gram. Okay, so divide it by 1000 to convert into kilogram, because there are 1000 gram in 1 kg. Then yield is in kg, so 0 1 2 3 1 2 3. Okay, so calculation is, now this gram is converted into kg. So now kg, so it is 1.2 into 300 into 10. Okay, so ये हो जाएगा 1.10 से ये हो जाएगा 300 into 12 0 it is the kg. So this is the grain yield, rice grain yield in 1 hectare area. So this is the basic concept. हमने कोई फार्मूला यूज नहीं किया, there is no use of formula. Basic concept is yield of one plant multiplied by number of plants 1 hectare area. Then basics are in such way that the number of grains in one plant, then weight of one grain, then yield of one plant, then through planting geometry we can calculate the number of plants in 1 hectare area. So this is the basic calculation, ये जो मैंने आपको बताई, then you can easily understand. Now take another example, the question which are asked in examination. The question may be directly asked by giving the plant population in 1 square meter area. Otherwise, we have to calculate the population. So we will use the basic concept for the yield estimation. but we have to know how the plant population is calculated. So please go through numericals in the playlist which are based on plant population calculation. For example, number of effective tillers in rice. Effective tiller in rice in 1 square meter area are suppose 200. Okay, so it is directly given that 1 square meter area, no need to calculate the planting geometry etc., because it is directly given. Okay, and 1000 grain weight, 1000 grain weight is about 20 gram. So the weight of 1000 grain is 20 gram. So now we can calculate the weight of 1 grain, that is 20 by 1000. So this information is not complete because we have to know yield per plant. तो इसके आगे के लिए अभी हमें कैलकुलेशन अभी देखनी पड़ेगी कि इसको हम नहीं कर सकते क्योंकि yield per plant multiplied by population in 1 square meter area, then we can calculate the yield in 1 square meter area. Okay, then yield kg per hectare, simple formula is that yield per plant, okay, यहाँ हम कर सकते हैं yield in 1 square meter area, in square meter area, yield per plant and number of tillers in 1 square meter area. Okay, so now we have to know what is the yield per plant, and it is the 1000 grain weight, and there is no information about the number of grains per plant. So with this data we cannot calculate. So further a data is required. So the data is required is number of grains. So number of grains per spike or per tiller, maybe given as per tiller or per spike. So don't be confused. टिलर बात हो रही है, स्पाइक की बात हो रही है, इसका मतलब कि उसी में है. नंबर ऑफ ग्रेन्स सपोज दीज आर 60. ओके, सो नाउ यील्ड पर प्लांट, नंबर ऑफ ग्रेन्स पर टिलर मल्टीप्लाइड बाय 1000 ग्रेन वेट divided by 1000. It is divided by 1000 to convert it into 1 gram or 1 grain weight. Number of tillers 200. Okay, so number of grains per tiller 60,000 grain weight. How much? 20, and it is 1000, and then it is 200. Now 1 2 3 1 2 3, and it is 60 by 4, that is 240 gram. So 240 gram is in 1 square meter area. It is in 1 square meter. Number of tillers in 1 square meter area. So in 1 hectare area means 10,000 square meter. 240 into 10,000. Now it is in gram because it was in gram grain weight. So divide it by 1000 to convert into kilogram. 1 2 3 1 2 3. So it is 240 kg per hectare. So this is the rice yield estimation with the help of 3 data. So we use 3 data. 1000 grain weight. What is the 1000 grain weight? Then number of effective tillers in 1 square meter area and number of tillers. It may be given out data as number of years or number of spike or number of fertile spike. So don't all the things are same, which indicates the number of spike or year. So this is the basic calculation how the rice yield is estimated. So we have to require 2 data. हमको कितने डेटा की जरूरत है? 2 डेटा की जरूरत है कि पर प्लांट यील्ड कितनी होती है और एक यूनिट एरिया में कितनी प्लांट पॉपुलेशन है, देन वी कैन कैलकुलेट दी or we can estimate the grain yield. So this was the basic calculation about the yield estimation of rice. And in case of rice, tillers are there. तो ये हमको देखना पड़ेगा, टिलर्स को भी हमें प्लांट पॉपुलेशन से मल्टीप्लाई करना पड़ेगा, या तो इट इज डायरेक्टली गिवन इन 1 स्क्वायर मीटर एरिया 200. अदरवाइज इफ क्वेश्चन इज इन सच ए मैनर दैट दिस इज नॉट गिवन, इट इज नॉट गिवन, दिस डेटा इज नॉट गिवन, देन उसको हम कैसे कैलकुलेट करेंगे? अगर हमको केवल ये दो डेटा याले दिए हुए हों और ज्योमेट्री दी हो, एंड इट इज नॉट गिवन, नंबर ऑफ इफेक्टिव टिलर्स आर नॉट गिवन, एंड 1000 ग्रेन वेट 20 ग्राम, 1000 ग्रेन वेट 20 ग्राम, एंड ज्योमेट्री spacing is suppose 20 centimeter by 10 centimeter. It is the normal spacing. Okay, then spacing is 0.2 into 0.1 meter into 0.1 meter, that is 0.02 square meter. So spacing is 20 by 10 centimeter, it means 0.02 square meter. It means there is one plant, there is one plant in 0.02 square meter. It means if the spacing, then it is the meaning there is one plant in 0.0 square meter. So it means, so 1 square meter area, how many plants? 1 upon 0.02, that is 50 plants. So these are the 50 plants. Now there is no tillers, so now we cannot calculate the yield. अभी इस पे हम yield को calculate नहीं कर सकते, क्योंकि प्लांट्स स्पेसिंग बताई गई है कि 20 सेंटीमीटर, ये 10 सेंटीमीटर ये है, और 20 सेंटीमीटर पे फिर ये ट्रांसप्लांटिंग की गई है, ये 20 सेंटीमीटर. सो दिस इज द स्पेसिंग. ओके, नाउ टिलर्स आर देयर हियर. टिलर्स इन ईच हिल, there are tillers. Okay, so some plants produce 5 tillers, some produce 7 tillers, some produce 4 tillers. Then we have to calculate the number of average tillers. Suppose number of average tillers are 5, so additional data required, number of tillers, effective tillers, actually effective tillers. Okay, number of tillers per hill, we can say it is per hill. Actually this is known as hill in case of rice, so don't be confused with what is hill. तो राइस में जहाँ हम ट्रांसप्लांटिंग कर रहे हैं उस पूरे एरिया को हम हिल बोलते हैं, उस प्लेस को. तो नंबर ऑफ टिलर्स पर हिल सपोज 5, तो नंबर ऑफ टिलर, एक्चुअली दीज आर 50 प्लांट्स मीन्स 50 हिल, सो इट इज 50 हिल. एक्चुअली राइस में जहाँ हम ट्रांसप्लांटिंग करते हैं उस प्लेस को हिल बोलते हैं. सो नंबर ऑफ टिलर्स पर नंबर ऑफ टिलर्स in 1 square meter area, number of hills multiplied by number of tillers, 50 by 5, that is 250. So these are the 250 tillers in 1 square meter area. Then we can calculate easily how it is calculated. तो yield per plant, yield per plant हम calculate करेंगे कि yield कितनी आ रही है और number of plant से कर देंगे. तो yield per plant multiplied by number of tillers in 1 square meter area. So yield per plant, number of grains per tiller 60 by, that is 20 upon 1000, then it is 250. So in this manner you can calculate. This is the yield in 1 square meter area, because number of tillers in 1 square meter area, and it is in gram. Then you can calculate how it is converted into kilogram. You know it very well by dividing 1000. Then we can calculate for 1 hectare area by multiplying it by 10,000. So this is the simple calculation, and we have to remember only basic thing is that yield per plant, then number of plants in 1 square meter area, and number of plants means spacing, and spacing is hill, and how many tillers are in 1 hill. Then we can calculate number of tillers in 1 square meter area. Okay, so in 1 square meter area we can calculate the yield, then convert into hectare by it multiplying it by 10,000. तो एक बहुत बेसिक मैंने आपको कैलकुलेशन बताई, इसमें आपको किसी फार्मूला को रटने की जरूरत नहीं है, आपको बेसिक समझना है कि हम एक प्लांट की यील्ड को कैसे निकालें। फर्स्ट वी हैव टू थिंक हाउ टू कैलकुलेट द यील्ड ऑफ वन प्लांट। तो जो हमको डेटा दिया उससे पहले आप एक प्लांट की यील्ड निकाल लीजिए। देन कैलकुलेट द नंबर ऑफ प्लांट्स, मीन्स नंबर ऑफ टिलर्स इन केस ऑफ राइस इन 1 स्क्वायर मीटर एरिया। अब आपको थिंक करना पड़ेगा, सोचना पड़ेगा मैं इसको कैसे निकालूं जो हमको डेटा दिया है। अब वो दोनों निकला है, उन दोनों कैलकुलेट कर दीजिए। तो आपको कोई फार्मूला रटने की जरूरत नहीं है, बेसिक आप याद रखिए। So this was about the basic calculation of yield estimation of rice. Thank you very much.